From beautiful downtown Sacramento, it's time for Beach Blanket Fort Bingo.
Beach Blanket Fort Bingo. Beach Blanket, Fort Bingo, Fort Bingo. Spazzy's got a show when you really want to know what's going on. Yeah. Beach Blanket, Fort Bingo, Fort Bingo. Art and music, golden blue, and your favorite comics too. Grab a spot and settle in, 'cause it's high time we begin. Beach Blanket Fort Bingo Podcast. Yeah.
Hello and welcome to Beach Blanket Fort Bingo. I'm your host, Steve Schnee, and before we introduce our special guest, I'd like to introduce my esteemed co-host. He's the coolest bassist in the West. He's the star of the Boom Boom Room right here on this YouTube channel, and he was born and raised in Houston, Texas. Ladies and gentlemen, the Houston El Mover himself, Ronnie Barnett. Ronnie,
hey, everybody. Hello. Hey, thanks for having me again, Steve.
And now I'd like to introduce you to the man of the hour. He's a veteran singer-songwriter and a Texas rock and roll legend. He brought a new kind of Tex-Mex to the airwaves in the 80s that he dubbed Nuevo Huevo. And he's still making great albums over 4 decades after his seminal debut with El Molino. In fact, when everybody was shelling out top dollar for 9 different versions of McCartney 3, they could have been purchasing this man's brand new album, Mariachi Blues, which was released on the very same day. And it's a much wiser investment, if you ask me. Ladies and gentlemen, the legend that is JOE King Carrasco. Welcome to the Blanket Fort, Joe.
Hola, from Mexico.
Where are you broadcasting from?
I am presently about 5,000 feet up in the mountains between Guadalajara and Puerto Vallarta, in a place called near San Sebastian. It's an old mining town founded in 1600.
Before we talk about the new album, Mariachi Blues, which I love, by the way, let's take a trip back to the beginning. Do you remember the exact moment when you decided to become a musician, or was that a series of events that inspired you?
I think it was a series of events, but I think seeing the Beatles and Ed Sullivan helped a lot.
You embrace music of different cultures. Some call the music that you make Tex-Mex, but what do you prefer to categorize it besides Nuevo Huevo? Just rock and roll?
Yeah, just rock and roll. I grew up, my brothers and sisters all about 10 years older than me, and they were all listening to Chuck Berry and Little Richard and Jimmy Reed and Bo Diddley. So I grew up, that's what I primarily grew up on. Then, being in Texas, there's also the Latino culture. So I'm hearing that at the same time,
What town did you grow up in?
I grew up in Dumas, Texas.
Okay.
It's north of Amarillo. It's in the middle of nowhere. So the only thing you can do is play your guitar.
When I see you walking down the street, I get so funny, I can see. Well, I just start falling to the ground like some fool come unwound.
Most people are familiar with your music. They tend to reference JOE King Carrasco and the Crowns, but your recording career goes back further than that. I mean, the first album, Tex-Mex Rock and Roll, was with El Molino. How long was that band together before you? Yeah, there you go. In fact, here's the CD version.
Uh-huh.
How long was that band together before you formed the Crowns?
Well, it was funny. We started recording on August the 16th, 1976 in San Antonio, and we did a song called Tell Me. And that's the same day that Elvis died a year later. Anyway,
yeah.
So remember August 16th. But we were together for a long, from 76 all the way till 1980.
Mm-hmm.
And then Crowns, we started playing this place called Rupaul's in Austin, and somehow the Tex-Mex got faster and the skirts got shorter, and the music, then we ended up in New York.
In this band, Joe, you had a couple of veterans too. You had Augie Myers and Speedy Sparks. How did those guys come to want to play with a young Joe King?
Well, Speedy and I, Speedy was playing with me before he played with the Tornadoes and those guys. But, I was hanging out with Doug Stamm. I was watching us. I was, around that scene. I played some stuff with him. And a guy named Richard, actually, no, it was Ernie, the drummer with the Tornadoes. I talked to Ernie today, actually. Ernie took me to Zoss Studios in San Antonio, and that's what we could record a 45 for $250. So we'd throw these parties and record a 45 and take us about 16 hours. That's how we did it, throwing these beer parties.
I was kind of confused. The debut album with the Crowns came out here on Hannibal, but there's kind of an alternate version that came out on Stiff Records in the UK. Which Ronnie's probably going to pull out right now. I have an actual, this is my version of that album. And which came first, the Hannibal or the Stiff version?
Oh no, the Stiff version. Dave Robinson signed us in 1980 at the Inman Square Bar in Boston, Massachusetts. I don't know if you've ever, it's a bar. He signed us there, the Stiff Records, and we did it because we were going to get to be on the Stiff tour, and it was Stiff Records, and then we came back to the States after that. And then we got on Hannibal Records. Baby, where I am. If I only knew. Baby, where I am. If I only knew. It's funny, this last March when the pandemic started, Dave Robinson was coming over to Austin at South by Southwest, and he sort of got stuck in Austin. So I ended up hanging out with Dave Robinson for a week. And it was really incredible because I asked him every question you could ask Dave Robinson. He was the road manager for Jimi Hendrix for 2 years.
Oh, and, that's right.
So and then he also produced the Bob Marley album, the last Bob Marley album that's one of all the greatest hits. Mm-hmm. And that's the number one selling record of all time. So anyway, Dave is an amazing person. I really love Dave. We stay in touch.
Yeah, well, he's a legend. I mean, he is. You signed with MCA, and the first major label album was Synapse Gap, Mundo Total. The album features.
Is that how you say it? Synapse? I've always wondered. I've never been clear on that.
Synapse Gap, yeah. Mundo Total, yeah. I guess that's all the world. Yeah, that's kind of a strange name. Synapse Gap's what happens when you get high. Your brain has synapse. I know better, girl. Better about you. I called you last night, but I couldn't get through. Pussy, pussy. Gonna pussy, pussy. Pussy, pussy. Calling pussy, pussy.
My viewers and a lot of my pals don't realize the story. I know you've said it before, but the album features, I love that cover. The album featured what could have been a huge hit, which was Don't Let a Woman Make a Fool Out of You, which featured backing vocals from Michael Jackson. How the heck did that happen?
We were at Studio 55 in Hollywood, and recording there. And at the same time, the Jackson 5 were in there mixing their live album. And so that they'd be in there every day. And there's a little tiny office that had 2 desks. And so I'd go in there, try to figure out my lyrics for my record. And then Michael's at the other desk, and we got to be friends. And so one day, that was when the Walkmans had just come out. So I gave him, let him use my Walkman I had Off the Wall on it. And so he listened to his Off the Wall for a couple of days. And then we just started talking, and he, told me about his history on Sunset Boulevard when the Jackson 5 first came to LA. And then I was asking him a lot of questions about Bob Marley because he had hung out with Bob Marley. So I kept asking him a lot of stuff about that. So I think he realized I was more into Bob Marley than so he had a lot of answers. then we started going. He said he would go listen to some mixes, so we started listening to mixes that they're doing for the Jackson 5, and then I said, hey, one day nobody could do the harmonies on "Don't Let a Woman," so I said, you want to do the harmonies, and he did, so he said yeah. So I showed him the song, and then his dad walked in while he was doing it and sort of freaked out, but it was cool. We gave him $135.
Don't let a woman make a fool out of you. Like I let a woman make a fool out of me. Don't let a woman make a fool out of you. Like I let a woman make a fool out of me. Oh yeah. Oh no, no. I'm losing sleep. Can't get my thinking straight now. But I ain't
That's one of my favorite Joe King songs. I mean, out of hundreds of favorite Joe King songs, it's already a heart-wrenching song, but his harmonies add a very haunting atmosphere to it. And that's what I love about it.
And
Because
that part at the end, that kind of call and response part that he does. Yeah. It's great.
Yeah.
We'll get back to MCA. I want to go back a little bit, Joe. And this is kind of a two-part question. The nickname King and the Crown, how did that come about? And was it simultaneous?
Well, it's funny, they just like you've heard of Prince Rock and Sydney, or Sir
Yeah.
Douglas Quintet.
Mhm.
And then Augie Myers had a band called Lord August and the Visions of Light. So I wanted to be royalty too. I wanted to be Joe Count Carrasco, but then Joe Nick, the manager, said, no, King sounds better, so we went with King. I didn't feel like I wanted to be Count, but anyway, but King is stuck. Joe King
Well,
Carrasco.
Okay. So then the Crown, then you found, now where did you find the Crown? How many crowns did you have? Did you ever lose it on the
Yeah.
road? Like, yeah.
Yeah, we found a crown at UT in Austin for that photo cover, the El Molino cover. Then I found a place in New York. That used to make crowns, and you could buy the crown for $100. Yeah, that's the crown. Wow, that's a good. It's probably still somewhere at UT, but they let me borrow it for an hour.
Okay.
Oh, really?
Anyway,
Okay.
Yeah. So, but the crowns that we had on stage I got from this place in New York. Nicole, can you go grab that crown? I'm going to show you the second crown I ever owned. It's here at the house.
Awesome.
30 crowns. This is the second crown. It wasn't red. It was a blue one, and it's pretty total. But it was this crown did the stiff tour right here. Can you see it?
Oh,
Wow.
wow.
Yeah. It's still with me. The other crown thing's back in Texas, but I still have them. Several have been stolen.
I would imagine. Yeah. Did you ever do a show without the crown because you got stolen or?
Well, every time it got stolen, we'd stop the show and I said, okay, I'm not going to play anymore till the crown comes back. So, people still, so we'd stop the show and then when the crown would come back, but then a couple of times it got ripped off totally, but it's part of the deal, right?
Did it have its own case, Joe? Did it have its own travel case?
Yeah,
for the van?
yes, it did have its own case. Yeah, we had a crown case.
Yeah,
Amazing.
if you ever put that on eBay, I'm bidding high on that.
party weekend. Gonna be some rock and rollin'. Everybody's gonna get you. It's a party weekend. It's a party weekend. It's a party weekend. It's a party weekend.
Were you comfortable with being thrust in the spotlight via MTV? And did you even imagine that would happen?
Not really, because I was in Austin, we were, and smoking weed, getting to go to Mexico. Then all of a sudden, this band thing came up, and I was playing in Mexican bands and playing professionally, but I never really thought that was going to happen. No, that we'd end up on Stiff Records and tour in Europe. But it was fun. We had a good time. We had a good time, and I've always written music. So that's what I do.
Saturday Night Live came quickly too, when you were kind of taking off there.
Yeah.
That just come out of nowhere? Or?
Yeah, Saturday Night Live came we did the Stiff tour in September, and we came back to Texas in December. And we did Saturday Night Live, I think, in January, first week of January of 1981, So I mean, it was like it was within 6 months thing. Yeah, I felt good. I wish I'd done Buena,
Yeah.
but that's my only regret. I wish I'd done Buena instead of Don't Bug Me, Baby.
Buena, buena, buena all the time. Buena, buena, buena on my mind. Buena, buena, buena all the time. Buena, buena, buena on my mind. That's the score.
What was the Hannibal album out at that point? Or was that before the Hannibal version?
It came out in January of '81. February of '81.
So around the
Hannibal
same
record
time.
did. And that album cover, the Hannibal album, it won an award for best album cover. He the guy that did it, he had done a few album covers for the Talking Heads. Yeah, that one, and he's no longer alive. But that's a very, very, it's a great album cover.
No copyright issues here, Joe? With the
Actually, you know what? You know what happened? Oh yeah, you know the story about that cover, right? We got sued by Tabasco.
Okay, yeah, that's what I
Tabasco
was
said
wondering.
they would, if we didn't cover put a piece of tape over the cover, they were going to sue me. So we had to put a piece of tape over the Tabasco bottle. So you've got a very good that album that you have is worth a lot of money because it has on it.
See, this is again my version. This has, I think this has all the tracks that were from both versions.
I did that one. So later on, what happened was I put it out myself because that was the cartoon version. This cartoonist in New York City had done it, and that's a great iconic the cover there. I love that cover. And we also have Mexican bags. Can you get me a Mexican bag? We sell these Mexican bags here in Mexico that have that same cover on it. This is the one I use every day. I don't know if you can see it very well.
I love those.
Bag,
Just for people who want to buy Joe King's Carrasco music, he does have a website. Synapse Gap is known as Pink Chance. That's the same track listing there. The second MCA album is called Get Off My Quesadilla. And that's that. And I have the original issue of this. This is like Border Town, which is one of my...
wow. That's from France.
Yes, exactly. Border Town.
From France.
I had a couple different versions of Border Town. One of them had Cucaracho Taco, which is one of my favorite Joe King songs.
Great title. Yeah.
Yeah.
Taco, 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 cucaracha taco. Taco, 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 cucaracha taco. I like it hot as really hit the spot.
Was there, I noticed on this photo, no crown. And the cover of the next album, no crown. Now, was there a conscious effort to kind of distance from the crown a little bit by MCA or by you at the time? Or
probably me. I mean, it's like if you're the guy for McDonald's, it's like, do you want to be the McDonald's clown for the rest of your life? It's so I don't know if we were trying to get away from it, but it was probably, it's funny. I got in trouble, in England, I got arrested in front of Buckingham Palace when we were shooting the Buena video because I was wearing a crown. They said I was insulting the Queen. And
really?
Then we went to Belfast. Everybody liked it because they thought I was insulting England, So now the crown really.
Water and butter, butter over Mexico. Water and butter, stood up for the love of the people. Was the stand-up fit Oaxaca? People cried, water and butter. They came riding in on their horses and shot up the federale. What's there? Water and butter.
In 87, you released Bandito Rock, which was lyrically a lot more political. Now, you had touched on politics in a lot of your early stuff, just little minor things. What made you more comfortable creating music that was more thought-provoking?
Well, like that song Cucaracha Taco it was about how in a nuclear holocaust, the last things that will be left will be the cockroaches, the cucarachas. So that was my first kind of, so I started doing, back then when the United States started, sending aid to El Salvador, and also in Nicaragua. I went with Nicole here. We went to a language school in Nicaragua, and
Mhm.
studied Spanish with the Sandinistas. So that's what, I was staying, hanging out with Sandinistas in Nicaragua. So I was writing songs at the same time. And that's
Yeah.
what the Bandito Rock was about.
It's less bubbly than the Crown stuff, which, yeah, I think it's just a fantastic record. Overlooked.
Well, and it also had in '83 we went to Colombia and I learned about vallenato music in Colombia. So I started getting really heavy into accordion music.
Mhm,
And so
mhm.
Marcelo Gauna came in on the Bandito Rock and was playing accordion. So it's more accordion, more real authentic Tex-Mex
Yeah,
on it,
yeah.
with more polkas and stuff. Pachuco Hop was a song on that CD. And that song was recorded by Manu Chao from Mono
Oh,
right.
Negra. And so and it went platinum. So that was a really big thing for me.
I know I'm going to be skipping over albums here because you have this such a great career, but I want to just touch on a couple things before we hit the most recent album, like the tequila reggae years in the '90s. What inspired you to embrace reggae rhythms?
Well, we in I guess '91 we came to Puerto Vallarta to play at the Hard Rock, and they liked the stuff we were doing, but I realized that if we put everything more to a reggae groove, people would dance to it more than the Mexicans would understand it more. And then about a year later, we were the house band at a place called Pancho Lefty's in San Miguel de Allende. And that's when I started, listening to, what was going on in Mexico. And Mexico was adopting this sort of reggae tropical style into their cumbia. And so I said, man, that's what I want to do, So it's just, if you're there, that's what you're hearing, that kind of a reggae style in Mexico.
Yeah. And for viewers, there's, these are like '90s albums that are, I mean, you can get everything that we talk about on Joe's website. Which is, I think, joeking.com, right?
Yeah, joeking.com. It's on those CDs, on like Hot Sun was a cha-cha-cha sort of. And so I started, now I'm just kind of been staying in the cha-cha-cha groove,
Oh, okay.
And that's what the last few albums I stay more in cha-cha-cha, Cuban. So, I mean, during, through all these time that I've been playing, I was touring like really heavy, like, 200, 300 dates a year, So, and so, we kept playing, through until just a few years ago constantly. And then I moved to Mexico in 2006 and we had a club there called Nacho Daddy. And I was playing, well, before Nacho Daddy started up, I was playing 6 nights a week in Mexico. That's a lot of work.
Oh, wow.
It's almost like having to start over again, playing clubs in Vallarta for tourists or whoever. And so it was starting all over again in Mexico. It's a whole different feel, man. They didn't know who I was.
Ay, 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 ay. Chihuahua, Chihuahua. Ay, 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 ay. You couldn't get much harder. Ay, 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 ay. Chihuahua, Chihuahua. Ay, 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 ay. Rock a muchachito. Yo, 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 yo. Oh!
I was playing a band that did covers. I originally moved to Vallarta because this band was doing a bunch of songs off the Hot Sun CD. And I thought, wow, I'm going to play with these guys. So I moved to Mexico thinking it was going to be 3 weeks, and 3 weeks turned into 3 months, and 3 months into 3 years. And that turned into, 15 years. And so here I am. But the thing is that, so at this one place we started playing, we'd start at 11:30 at night and get through at 4:30 in the morning.
Whoa.
4 45-minute sets.
Wow.
It humbles you.
Yeah. I look at, Joe, your career as like many different phases. And it's all coming from the same heart and soul of the same songwriter. But as much as I love, I really love the MCA stuff. I love the stiff stuff, but some of these things are my favorite Joe King Carrasco albums, which is Tattoo Laredo and Vamos a Get Down and Talaki Paki.
I'll tell you the story. Those first two albums were recorded like in the mid '90s, you know, or no, not mid '90s. You don't have Dia de los Muertos, do you? Do you have Dia de los... So, but those two CDs were recorded probably '98, you know, and or no, '96, right around that time. And they set in a studio, and the studio was in Houston. And the tape set in this box, and when they had the hurricane hit Houston, the water came within 6 inches of the tapes.
Wow!
And it was a miracle that those two CDs have ever come out. You know, so yeah, the hurricane almost got to those tapes.
I mean, they came out in like 2011. Weren't they things that your mom used to play, and she loved those albums?
Yes, my mother, she had them on cassette, you know, because I never put them out, and she kept listening to them. And so one day she lived in Oregon. So one day I was at her house and in her car, and I was going checking out her tapes, and she had that tape. And I went, wow, that's a pretty good tape. So that's when I got back on it and, you know, found the tapes and we put them out. And the guy, that band, those guys played for, I don't know if you know who Little Joe LaFamille is, but they're probably the number one Chicano band in Texas, you know, forever. And so, so that they got to stretch out. Tom Cruise is on guitar, and he's really phenomenal.
Wow. Tom Cruise.
Yeah, well, it's not that Tom Cruise. Yeah, it's another Tom Cruise.
Oh, okay.
CRUZ.
Can you explain what you got on your mind? I think it's a shame. Oh, I've been wasting your time and again. Can you explain? I could find the right line. I shouldn't complain, but I'm getting a white line fever again. Well, I've been losing sleep, girl, ever since I caught you looking at me. Well, I've been acting crazy. I guess you put the big one over on me.
What a body of work. How many albums total, Joe? How many albums have you put out total?
I think I heard there's like 20 to 22. You know, that's what I heard, you know.
Wow.
But there's a lot, and we're still putting them out.
I've got this, and we're still not done with the catalog yet. I don't know if Ronnie has heard this, but you reunited with the original Crowns, and you put out the KWOW album, which is fantastic.
Yeah, no, we got together with 2011, and so came back to Texas, and they were going to have a reunion of the Skunks, you know, from Texas, and they wanted us to be on it. So we did a show with the original. People liked it so much, I thought, well, there's another CD. So that's what happened. We did another CD in 2011 and 12. And it's really good. And you know, it's interesting. When I like garage rock, and I like the Farfisa, and I like organ, so that's kind of where I'm still at. You know, I love the garage rock, man, and blues.
I've been drugged through the mud, left for dead with no hope of getting back up. Woo! All my friends asking me, oh yeah, local, where you been? I ain't seen your face around here for nearly 96 years.
I love rock and roll, man. I love Question Mark Mysterians. I love the Sam and Sham. You know, that's where my head is.
It's in our blood as Texans.
Yeah, and then there's Rupaul, which is another great album. And this is now you got together with some of the members of El Molino again, right?
Yeah. So in the Crowns, you know, when we thought the Crowns were going to take over, but it didn't quite take over. So I got back with Ernie and Speedy and Joe Morales, and we did those songs pretty much live in the studio. So those are all live grooves, and Ernie and Speedy are such a good rhythm section with the tornadoes and stuff. So it's like when I play with Ernie and Speedy, it's just, you know, it's like getting in the car and taking off.
Peachy this and a peachy that, peachy not all I get. Peachy this and a peachy that, but I just a peachy laugh. Oh, ruka, ruka, ruka come, ruka, 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 me duele singing ruka.
Here's an album from 2015, and this is kind of your foray into blues. I'm sorry, not everybody's is going to come autographed, but there is Chileando. Yeah,
Yeah.
this is a rock and blues album. What inspired you to say, hey, I'm going to get into this rock and blues groove?
Well, it's. I mean, I was always playing that style, and I
Mhm.
think what happened was when we had the club in Vallarta, not when I was playing Nacho Daddy, you're playing primarily for some Canadians and Mexicans, but they liked the blues and the rock and roll, so I just started writing songs in that vein. Plus, a lot of
Mhm.
those songs I already had that kept in the back catalog, and so that's what I'm just trying to do, just keep
Yeah.
everything that I write, just keep it moving. And
Yeah.
but I love rock and roll. I mean, that's what I grew up in, garage bands. I started playing at 13 called the Shades of Time.
Ooh.
And we were
Mhm.
playing Little Latin Loopy Lou, Hey Joe, Louie Gloria, so
Mhm.
that's where I'm
Yeah.
still at.
Yeah.
The Shades of Time, great name.
Yeah.
Now,
Yeah. Yeah.
now before.
The next band after that was called the Blue Mist.
Minnesota, something's terribly wrong. My ding dong daddy, don't daddy no more. My ding dong daddy, just daddy out that door. My ding dong daddy, don't daddy no more.
Before I go on and ask you questions about the new album, I wanted to make our viewers aware that if you go to joeking.com and if you click on Mercado, you can buy his catalog of CDs. You're going to be amazed at just how many there are. And hopefully they'll get more Nuevo Huevo Mexican bags, because boy, do I want those in there. But I also wanted to bring this to people's attention. It's Chalupa's Choice, which is a best of Joe
Oh,
King,
yeah.
and that has a lot of the fine hits on it. But let's talk about Mariachi Blues. The title, it led me to believe that maybe this was just going to be another blues album, but it starts there and then takes you stylistically almost through your career. It's got reggae, John Dillinger. It's got a track on there that could be a Crown song. It's such an amazing collection of songs that really hits you after like the second or third listen. It's just a fantastic record.
Well, thanks. Yeah, what happened was I did that CD with Luis, my drummer. He's my drummer here in Puerto Vallarta, and he's from
Mhm.
Chihuahua. And this last year, with our downtime, Luis was with me in Texas and here in Mexico, and he knows how to turn the knobs, and plus he's an incredible drummer, percussionist. He plays with some pretty big Mexican bands, and so
Mhm.
he had his downtime, I had my downtime, and we just hung out together. And he played drums, I played guitar, and that's how we put it together. And then I thought, well, I need to, all the songs that I've written, I thought, well, I need to get them down on tape, and they started sounding so good. I thought, well, let's just keep making it better and better. And turned into a CD, and we're going on to the next one now. We're about 3 or 4 songs away from the follow-up CD to this one. We're working
Wow.
on it here at you're looking at the studio here up in the mountains, and so he's so much fun to work with, and we get such good sound. And so I've learned how to collect microphones now, stuff like that. And I like playing bass, and
Mhm.
I got a jazz Fender Jasmine, and then I bought a G&L bass, and so I think the most of the bass lines I did on the Mariachi Blue was like a Mustang kind of bass. The Mustang bass is really fun to play, Fender Mustang, and
Mhm.
so I'm digging on them playing the bass now.
Hello, this is Tommy. How do you do? Say hello to Nacho and the True and Do. Hello, this is Tommy. How do you do? Got the mariachi blue, mariachi, mariachi blue, mariachi blue. The boat is broke.
Now I'm a bass player. I like playing bass, and you play with your fingers probably, right? You play with your fingers?
No, I play with a pick.
Play the pick. I
Yeah.
play the pick too. I think playing the pick's
Yeah.
cool. Who's the Carol Kay that she with the Beach Boys? She plays with a pick. And that's
Yeah.
I think playing the picks really good sounds, makes people play, gives more rhythm to it. And Paul McCartney plays with a pick.
Yep,
Yeah.
that's right. That's right.
So being the bass player, I know what the guitar player is doing because I'm the guitar player most of the time. And
Mhm.
so,
Right.
but it's so we're having a blast doing this. So I love working with Luis, and so we're like we're just keeping it going, keeping it moving.
Nowhere to hide, nowhere to go. Yeah. Come on, little lover, don't lie, don't let go. I wanna be your little lover. Woo. Oh. I wanna be your little lover. Yeah. I wanna be your little lover. Woo.
Well, the first official single is Lil Lobo, which is a duet with
Yeah.
Patricia
Patricia
Vaughn.
Vaughn.
How did that come about?
Well, Patricia and I do a lot of shows together. She said, well, let's do a song together. So she came up with the idea of Lobo, and I started putting stuff to it. And then I originally, I wanted to be, like I say, I like garage music, garage style rock. I don't know, how about garage mex or something? So that I just started putting stuff to it. And I think it sounds really good that she and I sound, together sound really great. And it reminds me a little bit of X, of Xene and X. And so I'd like to do some more stuff with her. I'd like to do, that'd be fun,
You could do a whole album.
Back in Texas, we're going to do that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
You can call yourselves Tex-X.
Tex-X.
Yeah.
Now,
I'll remember that. Yeah.
Yeah.
now,
Think about that.
Yeah, some of my favorites off the album are "Hurry Up Mexico," John Dillinger, King, Jesus Malverde, and White Hat, which, like I said earlier, it's the closest thing you've done to the Crown sound since the reunion album in 2012.
I don't do that. I know
What inspired all these songs?
Well, White Hat came from my brother. My brother always said, my late brother, he lived in Nicaragua. He had an accident and passed away, but he always said, Joe, you wear a white hat. So I thought, well, I wrote a song with White Hat. It's sort of like one of my first rock and roll songs that I learned was Good Guys Don't Wear White Good Guys Don't Wear White. Yeah, by the Sandells, And so this was my kind of tribute to that song. Good Guys Don't Wear White. And that's where that song came from. And Hurry Up Mexico, when you're going to Mexico in Texas, you got to go through Laredo. And so before you cross the bridge, you got to go get your pesos, And there's a place there that I like to get my pesos. And after you got your pesos, man, you're heading to Mexico and it's going to be all right.
I got the peso. Hurry up, Mexico. Hey. I got the peso. Hurry up, Mexico. Goodbye, Texas. Adios, mofo.
What are you hoping for in 2021, Joe? This has been a crazy, mixed up year.
My main thing is, is to not get COVID.
Yeah.
Nobody gets COVID and you be safe and stay healthy. And, I really miss playing for people, but it's my bass player here in Puerto Vallarta, his name was Steve York. He passed away from COVID last month, and
wow.
He was a big influence on me, and if you go to steveyork.com, you can find out a little bit about him, but he was British. He was British. He played with Eric Clapton, played with a lot of people, and he played with a lot of Chuck Berry, and he played a lot with Bo Diddley. And so he always had great stories. So I really miss Steve. So, a lot of musicians have passed away. The first Mexican bands I played with was Shorty and the Corvettes. Shorty was a pretty famous Chicano singer, and he passed away from COVID, I think about 3 months ago, So
Wow.
I've seen a lot of people, that are leaving us. And so the main thing is to stay healthy and stay safe, So I want to play for people, but I want to make sure it's safe, or at least have the vaccine before I do that,
While we're closing up here, Joe, I got two things I want to show you.
Okay.
One is you'll notice this is signed by you.
Oh,
And it
wow.
says It says from one singer to another. And the story behind that is you did an in-store at Infinite Records in Houston. I'm from Houston.
Yeah.
Yeah. In 83. And I spoke and you said, you stopped and you go like, your voice, are you a singer? And I was like, no. And at that point, I didn't even know I'd be a musician, but that's why you wrote that on there. And I was,
that's
funny. That's really funny. That was a good story.
Yeah.
Another thing, I used to see you in Houston at a club called Fitzgerald's all the time.
Yeah.
Rest in peace. It's not there anymore. But my friend Greg got me a piece of the floor. So I have, yeah, this is Fitzgerald's floor framed. And I probably stood right here watching you. I saw you there many, many times. And that place is really special, as you know. I'm so heartbroken that they just tore that house down. So many great memories. I'm sure you got a lot of good memories too. Yeah.
I do. Yeah, I love that place. It seems like they're tearing down all the really cool rock and roll places. Thread Gills is gone in Austin, and it's like, man, it's just everywhere I play, it seems to be vanishing. So that's why before, I'm not going to be here forever, but I want to at least try to leave as much music as I can behind, and a piece of the floor.
Piece of the floor.
Anyway, that's it. Thank you, everybody, for tuning into this episode of Beach Blanket Fort Bingo. I'd like to thank my co-host, Ronnie Barnett, for assisting me in this conversation, and especially the esteemed friggin' JOE King Carrasco right there. Thank you, Joe, for taking the time to talk about your career and your wonderful new album, Mariachi Blues. Remember, everybody, go to joeking.com and buy all of Joe's catalog and buy his Mexican bags. And I'm certainly, as soon as those Nuevo bags are available, I'm going to be buying one or two. I'll buy one for Ronnie. But until the next time, I'd like all three of us to say thank you, everybody, for viewing. And we'll see y'all next time on Beach Blanket Fort Bingo.
Adios.
Adios.